far, far away. This is Gingerbread Man after a few months, a few good long months. My first videos a few months ago, I totally intended to continue making Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes content. However, a little game called World of Warcraft Classic came out, and that occupied my time for quite a few months. So I've been somewhat AWOL. I've been, doing my dailies on Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes. Carrying on, doing the bare minimum in GAC and stuff like that, just to get my rewards and things like that. Today, what I'm doing is I'm just going to be going through some drudgery. I'm going to be doing my mods. I know that's boring. I know that's not like the best thing to be doing for content. It's not going to give me tons of views, I promise you. But it's just something to do in the background while we talk. There's a few things I want to talk about. First, I'm going to talk about my current farm, what I'm doing at farm, what I'm preparing for. And then I'm going to be talking about sort of, some current events, kind of some things, what's happened in the community lately, with, gas and CG and just some ideas on what I think would be good moving forward, and that I hope CG does. But which, of course, they've been very clear about what they think of content creators. Not that I'm popular, not that I have thousands of viewers. Just have a couple people subscribing to my YouTube channel. But without further ado, I'll get into it. First and foremost, my current farm. So what's happening next? That's how I think about my farms. So 2 or 3 months ago, I started my farm on Holdo. 2 or 3 months ago, I started my farm on Resistance Trooper. These would be completely 7-star. Like I would have my 330 stars on shards on them. The reason why I don't is because I finished up some Bosk stuff. So I finished up 7-star Bosk, and I got his ship to 85, and I was 6-star, 85 out of 85 shards for 6-star. So the reason why I did that, I was trying to help my ship's score. Didn't really help because you have to put the Zeta on box for that to really work. And when I realized that, I was like, oh, that wasn't so great. I'll put the Zeta on it at some point. But First Order and Resistance are the focus, because I'm expecting, Rise of Skywalker to be awesome, regardless of whatever the critics may be. It's going to be awesome in terms of content for Star Wars games, especially Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes. And like, Gas and Malik before him, General Anakin Skywalker, it's probably going to require 2 teams of 5, and 2 teams of 5 Gear 13 characters, so a total of 10 characters at Gear 13 or higher, Gear 12 or Gear 13 or higher, in order to complete whatever event it's going to be. I'm expecting characters like a Jedi Savior Rey, some sort of sacrificial Kylo Ren, some sort of epic Palpatine, where Rey and Kylo both require like 5 to 10 characters each, and then you need Rey and Kylo both to get Emperor Palpatine. Just like another granular level of progression for like this super amazing OP ancient Emperor Palpatine. And so I'm just kind of, because those are going to be the OP meta characters. Those are going to be the first characters, in addition to Relic 13, that are going to break the Sith raid. Which for me, you see my galactic power, you see my 2.8 galactic million power. That's not amazing. you know, a guild of people with my galactic power maybe could do the Sith raid, but I have several people in my guild that aren't, that are better than me, have a lot more galactic power, and we are still on tier 6. Alright, so tier 6, here I am in 3rd place. I didn't get my damage in on phase 3, so that's why I'm 3rd. But I can take 1st sometimes. And here's our tier 7. So in tier 7, we couldn't even get halfway through. Maybe we could have gotten halfway through. Again, I didn't get to do damage on tier 3, phase 3. If we could have gotten down to phase 3, we could have gotten a lot further. I don't think we would have broken into phase 4 though. So our big problem is we have 50 players, right? And literally 35 people participated, the bottom rungs of which couldn't do much. Like the bottom 10 maybe did 1.5 million damage. So if we had the rest of our people participating, we probably could have done it. I know Yoshina's good, Sinbad, Mandalorian, Big Cross, Azkiger. These people have been in my guild for Galactic Space Pigeon. They've been in my guild for quite a long time. They have good rosters. They can do significant damage. They just, for whatever reason, didn't participate during that 2-day period, and that's part of the problem. Typically, our tier 6 raids go for a couple days, like 3 to 4 days, maybe. Maybe it's just 3 days, but it's just kind of this thing where, like, because it happens immediately, you can immediately go in and it's only 2 days. Suddenly there isn't that 1-day buffer for people to get ready and realize, oh, there's a significant raid going on, like the Sith raid's happening. So that's the emphasis of my focus. I'm just trying to get myself raid ready for something like, not raid ready, but like event ready for something coming in January or February that has to do with Rise of Skywalker. So as far as shards go, I'll be done with that. I'm about to finish Holdo and Resistance Trooper. Executioner is done. If you have 65, then you need 250 to max it. So 65 plus 85 is 150, plus 100 is 250. So I'm well over Executioner. And then I'll just be focusing on Rose Tico, doing a couple refreshes every day. I'll have her at 7-star in a month and a half or something like that. So it's not anything beyond reason to have my characters at 7-star. The bigger question is, can I have all these characters at least at gear 12 by January, February? And I think the answer is no, probably not. I can probably have most of them. I can probably have all of them at gear 11 at least, and maybe half of them at gear 12. A lot of people already have their resistance at gear 12, so they have half as much to do as me. I've been pretty sparse with gearing people to 12. First gear 12 team was Bounty Hunters for Chewbacca. That might have been a mistake. And then next gear 12, I did a couple gear 12 characters like Massage and CLS, of course, because they're really good. Massage for Ancestors and Commander Luke Skywalker for just plug and play and soloing the heroic pit raid back in the day before there was a sim. And of course, Darth Revan and JKR I got to 12 as well. So, but I've been really specific about where I put my gear because to me, gear is a more scarce resource than shards. So that's the main reason why I haven't done much with Resistance or other characters as far as like gear 12 stuff goes. I have less power. I'm free to play. Like I don't have as much gear resources to just toss around all the time. So yeah, that's why I'm doing it this way, and that's why I'm going all in on the Rise of Skywalker content that I'm expecting in January or February. It's because even if I'm not ready for the first time around, I think that these guys can definitely be gear 13 or higher by the second time around for it. And for me as a free-to-play player, being able to get an event character the second time around is very, very, very powerful. And again, expect these event characters to be 5-star and to be behind, that guild event token currency to get them to 7-star. And there's a lot of that's one of the other things that fact leads into another thing I want to talk about, and that's people leaving Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes. And I think there's a lot of talk about like, oh, the game is dying, the game is dead, what's happening, things are going downhill, and why is CG not listening? And the fact of the matter is, in spite of the fact that a lot of people have left the game, enough people haven't left to actually hurt revenue or sales, and who they made money off of is probably where we need to be looking at. But if people they made money off of left, then that's an issue for concern. But for people like me and literally my entire guild, not a single person left the game. Not a single person in my entire guild left the game. And I think free-to-play players aren't leaving. And the reason why is because we're not getting hurt. Like, we're not the ones spending $300, $500, $600, $1,000 to be able to finish off our gear or our shards to unlock an event character like General Anakin Skywalker. Since we don't put all that skin into it, when we get a 5-star character that's somewhat lackluster or not as good as he could be until he's 7-star, it doesn't hurt us. We continue playing the game the way we're playing it the whole time, regardless of the event. And guess what? We get to allocate our resources better than people who paid money into the game, because we always get to look at it 2020. We always get to look at it from hindsight. Okay, based on what happened, we know for sure what characters are good to gear up and what characters aren't good to get up. So free to play is a method of playing where we don't ride the hype, we don't pay for the hype, we don't pay with the hype, and that's a trade-off, right? We trade off hype and owning a character for being able to allocate our resources better based on hindsight, and that's great. It's wonderful. There's kind of this great kind of community where we have the YouTubers and streamers with test accounts and people who are being given money by people like me and you. We give them money. They get the mod packs, they buy the gear packs, they get General Anakin Skywalker to gear level 12 or 11 or as high as they can get before unlocking it at 7-star, and they get to test it. They get to show us how good he is at 5-star, and we all give them like $1 and they get to go do that, and then we can see in hindsight what should we be doing with our resources, what should we be doing with our shard currencies, what should we be doing with our gear currencies, and so on and so forth. So it's a good trade-off and it's a good balance, and I think that from that perspective our community is great, and I don't think that the game is dying for that reason. The people who left this game are people who paid money for General Anakin Skywalker and were upset that they didn't get as much out of him as their money was worth, and like that was the problem. And as far as monetization goes, it's sort of like a breaking point. Like we've always known how this game was monetized, and we've all always chosen to play this game in spite of how it was monetized. We all always saw the pattern of the game being monetized behind gear and character releases. Those are the two methods of monetization that CG uses. They haven't changed that. They haven't changed that at all. They're still monetizing characters and gear. That's nothing new. They came out with Gear 12. They came out with Gear 12 Plus. They came out with Gear 13 and Relics. That every year or so, they're coming out with another monetization of gear progression. That's nothing new. No one's surprised about that. They're coming out with characters, right? Behind a paywall if you want him immediately, but you can farm him later, right? I bought Django 2 or 3 years ago. I've been free to play ever since because precisely for the same reason. But I didn't rage quit the game, right? Like, I bought Django expecting for a ship to come out, and then no ship came out, and then I couldn't do anything with him. And when Chewie came out, he wasn't even that good for the Chewie event. He didn't necessarily. I didn't expect him to break the Chewie event, but I did want to have something to show for my $300. At least have it like him be something helpful for the Chewie event. But it didn't matter. I had to get all my bounty hunters to gear 12. I had to do over 100 attempts until I got lucky and was able to pick them off piecemeal and get down Chewie first and just crit him huge. It was really intense unlocking Chewie because I didn't use Dengar and other. I had to get to gear 12. Like other strategies involved Dengar and Bosk. I didn't have those characters at the time. I didn't have the time to unlock their shards. It was easier for me to just gear them up than to go and unlock their shards and gear them up as well. So that's why I went the route I went. Anywho, point is, people leaving the game over the monetization of the game is almost super critical because they've been willingly putting money into the game the whole time over the monetization of gear and characters. So if people leaving this game, and if they're not leaving it in enough drips, because there's hordes of free-to-play players that are still playing just as strong, still logging in every day because they didn't have any skin in it. It's just some people who didn't necessarily use their money right. There are hordes of other players who paid for General Skywalker who are still playing the game. And why is that? Because they learned from Malik. When Malik came out and they couldn't 7-star him, they were upset. Some of them may have quit then, but the rest of them were like, because I know CG monetizes characters when they come out, and they're probably going to put the next one behind a guild event currency instead of getting Malik to 7-star, then I'm just going to hoard my guild event currency until the next one. Or, their top tier guilds, they're doing Geonosian and that half to max stars, somewhere in between that range. They're getting more than enough currency to get Malik to 7-star and then hoard it afterwards, right? Like, they just don't spend it on a gear or anything. Like, maybe the amount they earn per day on average is enough to finish off Malik and then hoard for gas. So those players who knew they were going to spend money on the game again hoarded their currency. They didn't quit the game because they got General Anakin Skywalker at 7-star. They were able to keep playing him and they enjoyed him and it was wonderful. They were smart. They were observant. They realized, they understood what CG was doing, how CG was going to do it next, based on very predictable behavior. They planned for it. They hoarded their stuff, and they went in and they did what they had to do to be able to get what they wanted at 7-star when they wanted it. Okay. So that's sort of kind of a long-winded way of saying the game isn't dying. There's just a portion, it may be significant, but it's not enough to kill the game. And when I say a significant portion of players, I mean 5%. Like a 20th is pretty significant. A 10th is very significant. If you have 10% of your players leaving over something, that's pretty powerful. But 10% isn't enough to destroy a game or make it die. And it's not so telling. It's not as telling as people think it is. It's not like, oh, CG is suddenly just shitting on us, or excuse the French. CG isn't suddenly just being like doing something that they've never done before. They're not suddenly doing something that we didn't expect or that many, many, many players didn't predict, because they obviously hoarded their tokens, kill tokens, to be able to unlock General Anakin 7-star. Like, this is a thing that happened. So the people who rage quit are people who are like me, who spent like several $100s on a character. For example, I a few years ago spent on Django. They spent on gas, and then they weren't able to get him at full max power, full 7-stars, as soon as they wanted. But again, that was predictable. That was very predictable. They saw what happened before. They should have expected it again. And this leads into what I want to talk about next. So, first off, the drama. Okay, there's drama. So apparently, CG took a shot at content creators like YouTubers. They didn't. I absolutely hate YouTubers creating or gamers creating drama that isn't there. I'm not gonna pull it up. You're adults. You can go look at the comment for yourself. CG said that they content creators on YouTube, they listen to as much as what happens on Reddit, right? And if you don't understand that your YouTube content creators are going to Reddit for inspiration and using Reddit to create some of their content, then I honestly don't know what's wrong with you, because I don't read Reddit, but I know that my most favorite YouTube content creators for Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes go to Reddit for inspiration. And sometimes they even use Reddit content, and they're good people, right? They credit the Reddit people that they read, that they use, and like, oh, this person from Reddit showed this, I'm testing it out, I wanted to show it. Oh, they sent me some of their own footage, I'm playing it here. They give that credit where that credit is due. I know it because they do it, and they say it. They say, "Oh, I got this off Reddit. This is who I got it from." And I don't read Reddit to have to know that they're getting some of their content, some of their inspiration from Reddit. So when CG said what they said, basically what CG said was, we read Reddit, which is way better than necessarily watching every YouTuber, because a lot of the YouTubers get some of their content from Reddit. So they'll read Reddit and they go and watch a YouTube video like, oh yeah, I read about this. That's what they're saying. They're saying, oh, they've seen it before. Every once in a while, and not every once in a while, but there's a percentage of the time, like it's somewhere between 0 to 50% of the time, depending on the YouTube content creator, depending on who it is. They're actually almost all their content is just original to them. Like, they literally just made something up all by themselves, and a lot of them had to start that way. A lot of YouTube content creators have to start that way. So, yeah. Point is, there was no drama. CG was just saying, we read Reddit. There's content on YouTube creators from Reddit. That's all they're saying, and they've seen it before sometimes. That's all they're saying. There's no drama. They're not taking shots at it. They're just people overreacting for views. They're overreacting for views. That's not reality. That's not real. That's not fair. You just got to do whatever you got to do to get views, to get money. Like, that's fine. That's you. Just play the game and respect it that way. Earn my respect for playing the game, being good at it. Don't create drama. All right. So, next thing I want to talk about. CG has sort of alluded, or not necessarily alluded, but mentioned, again, go read their stuff. You're an adult. You can go look up what CG has said. But they're going to this point where, some YouTube content creators are talking about how it needs to be easier to get to level 85. People need to, or new players need to be able to get into it faster. Maybe talked about, I think Arnold mentioned taking some pointers from Marvel Strike Force, certain legendary creatures being able to get really quickly, very easily, and them just always being that way, so you can kind of get into the game quickly and be able to have characters you need to start your farms and move up, and so on and so forth. Not a bad idea. I want to put up my opinion on this and offer it as sort of a generality and a slight suggestion. Take it for what it is. If it's good, be creative with it. Make it your own thing. I'm not looking for any sort of glory or like originality, like this was my idea sort of thing, because it really isn't my idea. I'm just taking some observations from other games I played and kind of mixing them together and kind of saying this isn't a bad idea. So first off, World of Warcraft, half yes, half no. What do I mean by that? Well, the genius behind World of Warcraft was, like, for the first time ever, people were paying on a monthly basis for content, for constant content. millions of players, millions of people paying $15 a month for the same content for like 6 months to a year, right? They didn't, Blizzard didn't have to release something new every month. They didn't have to release something new every 3 months, but every 6 months to a year, releasing something new. So that means that 6 months, the same code, the same exact code for 6 months to a year, got them the same amount of money. That's powerful. That's amazing. Because the problem with software, and the reason why you need that, intellectual property and all that stuff, is because the moment you make it, the moment you write it, like, it's done. Like, people pay for it, and they can just copy it, and then they can just pass it on, and then so on and so forth. But for the first time, they're able to take code and get people to pay for it over and over and over again. That's powerful. And I think that's the kind of revenue stream that video game companies are trying to mimic and trying to create. And what CG has had to do in order to keep a constant revenue stream is to continue to deliver on gear progression and new characters, right? Their content releases in terms of gear, and Gear 12, Gear 12 Plus, Gear 13 relics, and new characters, Django, Chewie, JKR, Old Republic, all that jazz. You understand what I'm saying when I say those two things. So my point is, what if they're a way? What if they're a way for CG to guarantee a certain amount of money from each player? A certain amount of money that even free-to-play players would willingly choose to play. Whereas, so that's the half yes. The half yes is, yes, create a system where we pay you month to month. But the half no is, don't make it mandatory. And that's where we go into the half yes from another game that I enjoy, that I used to play a lot, called Clash of Clans. So the year before, in the past year and a half, Clash of Clans started releasing certain items, certain unique items that helped game progression. They helped you get from base to base. And if you haven't played Clash of Clans, you basically just have this like square box, and you can build walls, and you can build certain buildings, and the buildings can be defensive. The buildings can make troops for you. They can hold your troops. And you basically create your base, and then you take your troops and you go fight other bases, and then other bases go and fight. Take their troops and fight your base and try to get your resources. That's the point of the game. And my point is, in the past year and a half, the Supercell started releasing these items that helped progression go a little faster. Like, they helped certain items that made buildings finish faster, that made unit and troop upgrades finish faster. Certain things that granted you immediate level ups for your troops, or for your heroes, that immediately leveled them from 5 to 6, or from 7 to 8, or whatnot, and so forth. And then once they rolled out several of these items over a period of like 6 months, then what they did is they created a system where you could log in and you could get achievement points, and based on those achievement points over the course of a month or a season, you got items for your progression, for your achievement, for doing this quest and for doing that quest. You got these achievements, and you got some of these items. And then on top of that, if you paid $5 a month, you got bonus items for each tier of achievement points, which was genius. Because you want to know what I did? For the first 3 months that came out, I suddenly, for the first time ever, paid money into that game. I had been free to play the entire time, the entire game, and suddenly they got $5 a month out of me. And so it wasn't just these progression items; it was also aesthetics. The whole reason why I started playing that, like, those progression items, they were neat, but suddenly there was these skins for my queen, right? My archer queen. I get this super bad A skin for my hero. I paid money for that. I didn't pay for a new character. Isn't that genius? Isn't that genius? I didn't pay for a new character. I paid for aesthetics. I paid for a skin. There are people There are so many people in this game who I know, absolutely know, would literally pay money to have a skin where JKR had another lightsaber in his other hand, where JKR was dual wielding when he did his abilities. I would pay money for JKR or for Darth Revan to have another lightsaber. And that's just aesthetics. You don't have to change anything. Yeah, you program the second lightsaber into some animations. Big whoop. Big whoop. That's easier than making a whole new character, and it's the same as making new animations for a new character, right? For a new character, you have to make all the abilities, you have to make the appearance, and you have to make the animations for it. Well, it's easier because if you add an aesthetic, all you have to do is program some new animations for that aesthetic. You don't have to make a whole brand new character, and you can still make money off of it. So the returns to scale for aesthetics can be more, and can be much more, especially with multiplicities, when you suddenly get free-to-play players not jumping in as dolphins immediately, but when you have a million free-to-play players suddenly being little goldfish, million free-to-play players suddenly paying $5 a month, you just upped your revenue $5 million per month. Holy heck. That's amazing. Maybe it's not going to be a million, maybe it's going to be a few 100,000, but still, even if it's a few 100,000, 5 times 3, that's $1.5 million extra for way less work. My point is, change the monetization a little bit. Adding a new gear tier for, every year or so, from gear 13 to 14 to 15 to 16, it's kind of boring. And yeah, you're always going to have whales who wail on it. It's a Star Wars game. There's always going to be whales. There's that nostalgia people are going to play for. But you can make so much more money off of the entire base of players, off of the entire multiplicity of your base of players, by introducing a progression system that helps people go faster, right? Which harks back to what we're talking about, where we're talking about, how can we help new players get there a little faster? That's the whole point of those items in Clash of Clans, was they're trying to solve this problem. How do we help new players get through our content faster? Because in Clash of Clans, it takes 2 to 3 years to get to your max town hall if you're free to play. So how do we help new players get there faster and monetize it? We're not squeezing money out of them. They didn't squeeze any money out of me. I voluntarily gave them money. I voluntarily chose. So, my point is, make the kind of content where your free-to-play players happily, voluntarily choose to give that money, and that's the balance. It's hard. You may say, oh, we can't do what we did, what Clash of Clans did. It's a completely different game. Yeah, you can. Yeah, you totally can. Make an item that instantly fills a gear slot. That's the two, again. What are the two progression systems? In this game, shards and gear. That's it. Shards and gear. So make an item that instantly fills a gear slot. Make an item that grants you 75 random shards or 20 shards of the character of your choosing, and grant one of those items, like an instant gear slot item or a shard item, at the end of the month, right? Yeah, you have other items or other things like some other random stuff for whatever your progression points are. Go look at Clash of Clans for inspiration. But at the end of the month, that really good item, that's what you give them, the free to play players. But then if I pay $5 or $7 a month, then I get an extra one, or I get something more powerful that completely upgrades an entire gear level from 11 to 12, right, or 12 to 13. That would be overpowered. I'm not necessarily suggesting that, but it's just something throwing out ideas to say, yeah, you can do what COC did, what Clash of Clans Supercell did. Yes, you do have a different game, And yeah, it's gonna have to be different because it's a different game, but the core concept is create items or techniques or things that people can collect that help the progression. So the fact that they're different games means that the progression looks different, right? The items in Clash of Clans are going to be for building upgrades and hero upgrades and troop upgrades. So the progression in here is going to look different, right? It's going to be more shards. It's going to be more gear, right? Like, and if honestly, if I could get another 25 or 50 Nerubians a month by paying $5, I would so do it. If I logged in every day and I completed my achievement points and I got another 25 to 50 Nerubians or another 50 Carbantes or stun guns, I would so pay another $5. I would even pay another $7, $8, $9 a month just to be able to get that on top of another aesthetic, right? On top of a lightsaber aesthetic or a different colored lightsaber for my Jedi, being able to customize aesthetics, different kinds of masks for my bounty hunters. Like, oh man, there's so much untapped potential there. And it would honestly change this game. It would change the revenue. It would make players happier to come in and log in every day and enjoy the progression system. It would feel like we're getting something in return for our money, which is the real problem. The real problem isn't that stuff costs money. Like, we happily dish out money for the content we like. But the problem is finding that sweet spot where, as a developer, you find things that all of us want to dish out money for, right? Like, it's tough and it's hard, and hats off really to CG for being able to figure out a way to be able to continue creating content I love and still make money off of it, even though I haven't given you any money for the past few years. That's kind of a bit of a long-winded rant, a bit of I wouldn't say rant. I don't know, just explaining what I think and why I think about it, and how this kind of system could work. How you take the best halves of what developers need to be able to create what we want, and the half of us as players voluntarily engaging in a progression system that's rewarding, like that of Clash of Clans, with what they rolled out in the past year and a half, 2 years or so. So just kind of my thoughts. Okay, so what I've been doing here with the mods is I have been upgrading them to 12 because my mod slots are full. The reason why I'm upgrading them all to 12 is so that I can see their stats. What's going on? Like, why is it that? Okay. And then once I can see their stats, I sell all the ones that don't have speed. Like, if they have 4 or 5 speed, then I keep them. If they have 4 or 5 speed on one upgrade, right? So it's multiplicative. Then I keep it. If that mod has 2 upgrades to speed, then it needs to have 8 to 10 speed for me to keep it. Does that make sense? So some mods will have it randomly picks which attribute it upgrades. So if it had 3 upgrades to speed, then it would have to have 12 to 15 speed for me to keep it. The thing is, on these E class ones that don't have any upgrades to any attributes, they don't have any upgrades to attributes. What they have is just one. They have filled out attributes. That's it. So green is an upgrade to a random attribute. Blue is 2 upgrades to 2 random to 2 attributes at random. Purple is 3 upgrades to 3 attributes at random, so on and so forth. And so the best mods in game, the best speed mods in game, are the ones with 5 upgrades to speed for a total of 20 to 25 speed on the secondary, right? So obviously I'm talking about secondaries. I obviously always keep my arrows because that's 30 speed. My arrow primaries with speed. So yeah, that's what I've been doing while I've been talking and just kind of putting my ideas out there. For my first video back, for my first thing back, I just kind of wanted to put that out there. Hopefully, and if these ideas are good and if people enjoy kind of this sort of kind of discussion format, I like to call this what was I calling this? How the gumdrops drop with Gingerbeard Man. Yeah, how the gumdrops drop with Gingerbeard Man. Sometimes they drop sweet, and sometimes they're not quite. Sometimes they miss their sugar coat, right? Sometimes the gumdrop misses its coating of sugar. Sometimes we gotta give the gumdrop without sugar. Sometimes it's got the sweetness, but guys, come on, it's a game, and the developers got to make money, and sometimes we buy things that don't pan out that we expect to pan out, and sometimes we buy things and it does pan out, right? But all in all, like, I even after Django not panning out, even after paying $300 to unlock Django and that not panning out, not getting the ship I wanted from him, eventually it may pan out if they ever do release a ship. I don't know, maybe they'll keep the trend where they don't unlock pilots anymore. That's fine. But at the same time, for all the enjoyment that I got out of playing the game, even though I was upset that I didn't get what I wanted, it was probably high time that I give CG some money for all the content that they had given me, for all the programming and coding and meticulous mechanics, design and development, and paying for servers and hardware and blah 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 blah. It's probably high time that I actually put some skin into the game that I've gotten so much enjoyment out of. So yeah, free to play is we all know free to play is a half lie. Like, free to play is a way to get us in to play a game and try it out and realize that we do enjoy it and that it is worth our money. And we sort of started believing the whole lie and expect the whole lie that a game should be free and that we shouldn't have to pay money for it ever. Then that is the lie. Like, that you're never going to be able to go up to someone like, hey, make me a game and I won't give you anything for it. Make me the best Star Wars game ever, possibly, to have all my dreams fulfilled and come true, Disney. But I'm not going to give you anything for it. Like, in what world would you do that? Like, if you were a developer and someone just said, hey, give me a game for free, like, you would never do that. I know this isn't a popular opinion. I know it looks like I'm taking CG's side. But as a person who hopes to develop a game one day, I'm on the side of making a game that people want to give me money for. If I make a game that people think is crap, then don't give me money for it, and I gotta move on and figure out how to do better. Right? But CG is not, but the Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes isn't dying over what's happened, right? Like, at all. At all. It's not enough people to leaving the game. It's not the right kind of people leaving the game. So that's literally not what's happening. And they have a huge mine of untapped potential for making specific items or things to make progression faster, itemizing that, making a progression system to earn those items, and then adding a pay level for each unlock of progression. You get extra rewards like gear, like Nerubians and stun guns and car bounties, and at the end, something that completely finishes a gear slot, just one of the 6 slots. I'm saying, at the end, like, get that on top of the free to play progression system. So you help free to play players, enjoy it, and then realize, like, hey, if I played $7, like, I would get another 50 Nerubians, 50 stun guns, and 50 car bounties a month, which I really need for all my 120 characters I'm trying to unlock, right? Like, that would really, really help progression go way faster. and shards on top of it to boot, right? You know, mix some shards in there, shards at random, or a significantly less number of shards for a character of your choice. Again, let the player choose if they want to just kind of like fan out their stuff at random or focus in. And a lot of people are going to choose that targeted version, and so make it at the opportunity cost of less total shards. You know, 75 shards at random of random characters, or 20 shards of something targeted. Personally, if I were starting the game brand new, I would take 75 shards at random, because over the next 2 to 3 years, that would be way more impactful than 20 specific. But at this point in the game, late game for me, I might take targeted, right? Like, so it would just change. And when you do it like that, it makes it work for both kinds of players. It makes it work for the end game players, and it makes it work for the early game players. Like, the more player choice you add to resources, and you can deviate between player choices by adding opportunity costs. The thing is, those opportunity costs will apply to different players. Like, or maybe as an endgame player, I would want the 75 shards so that they convert to, you know, the shard shop currency, right? Like, maybe, like, but let it be my choice. Like, every endgame player is going to be different. Some endgame players are going to be like, oh wait, I still really need so and so, like, so let me go and get him. And I don't put it behind character progression anymore. Don't put as much emphasis, I'd say, behind, you know, new characters. Like, you can, like, sure, still keep monetizing them, but for that item specifically, that where you can unlock specific shards or random shards, don't lock it behind those paywalls. Let that item also unlock Darth Revan, the 20 shards of Darth Revan, or randomly, you know, I'm saying 70, like, each shard has a chance, like, each shard randomly picks one of the 100 characters, right? So each shard itself, of those 75 shards, will randomly pick, like, one of the 100 characters or whatever, right? Like, so, anywho, yeah. There's a lot of ways that CG could be making way more money than they are, and they could be doing it in ways that aren't obtuse. They could be doing it in ways where we wouldn't bat an eye at giving them more, where we wouldn't be upset at all for the kinds of content in terms of, you know, the aesthetics and supercell stylized monetization of progression items. That would be very amicable and warmly and widely received by, you know, hundreds of thousands of players, honestly. Anywho, I will end this stream, and I might cut it and clip it. I might not. I might just load a complete hour of me just talking. Who knows? Ginja's got a lot to say, boys. Ginja's got a lot to say. But yeah, I hope your gumdrops stay sugar coated. And I hope sometimes you take them without the sugar coated. Sometimes you just gotta understand that the world isn't about you. It's about relationships. You know, it's about participating, adding to the discussion, growing together. Like, I want to grow with CG in my gameplay, and I want it to be in a positive way where the game begins to and continues and begins to exceed my expectations or meet expectations in ways that are amazing, but also in ways that where, yeah, I give them the money so they can, you know, support their friends and family and live happy lives and whatnot and so forth. So, alright guys, that's how the gumdrop drops. Stay frosted. Keep your gingerbread frosted. Have a wonderful day. Have a wonderful life. May the force be with you.